Richard Branson is a master at personal branding. In this video, we'll reveal 5 of Branson's tactics so you can build a passionate audience for your brand.
The brave, they may not live forever, but the cautious do not live at all.
Step 1. How to be entertaining if you're not a natural showman.
Richard explained to me, he said, you know, my dad said to me I should never be in the limelight. You know, and that's why I created the Virgin brand and the record company, and I stayed out of the limelight as much as possible.
When he was a little boy, he was very shy.
My mum tried to get us over our shyness by telling us that we should be able to stand on our own 2 feet and perform and entertain people. I had a shy streak in me, which I've sort of trained to overcome.
One day I pulled him up and I said, Richard, you are just thinking of yourself when you're shy. Think of the other person and forget yourself, and you won't be shy ever again.
And I think that's really good advice. I think especially as a leader, you've got to always be looking for the best in people. And if you look for the best, you get the best.
So learn how to focus on others and you'll naturally become more confident. Step 2. Ignore what they say and do it anyway.
We suddenly got this phone call from Richard saying, Mum, will you come? I'm in prison.
And we thought, well, if we sell these records in our shops in England, you know, we won't have to pay tax.
It was a big raid, and he was arrested.
They fined us 3 times what we'd made from it. There was no way we could we could find the money for that kind of fine. And so we just started opening music stores, and we had the fastest expansion ever. I mean, like in those 3 years, we opened something like 30 music stores.
Branson had an appetite for risk, and as you know, fortune favors the bold.
I might have made a dreadful mistake, but unless we try, we definitely won't have succeeded, so we might as well have a try.
I told them it was kind of a silly idea. By the conventional wisdom of the time, it certainly was a bad idea.
I actually said to Richard, I think this is the beginning of the end of our business relationship.
Why take a risk with all your money to do that, do you think?
We felt that we could create an airline which would work. We got a 747 instead of the DC-10, which we felt the public would enjoy flying.
Do you think that Virgin Atlantic, as an airline owned by Mr. Richard Branson, will make the grade?
Honestly, I think it's unlikely.
Why was Branson more comfortable with taking risks than others? Well,
there's a bit in your brain that triggers a feeling of fear, and it's very, very similar to the one that triggers excitement. And if you can just change from fear to excitement, it's just a change of gear, and it's a very, very small shift.
Branson made a point of having fun in everything he does, which leads to step 3, his secret free marketing strategy.
Because we didn't have any outside investors in Virgin, we were always having to be inventive to find ways of funding things.
That kind of marketing and branding felt new at the time. It might have not been as calculated as it seems after the fact. It was just like, what can we do if we haven't got that much money? Oh, let's just do a series of mad, bonkers, crazy things and hope it captures the public imagination and we get loads of free publicity in TV and in the newspapers.
The balloon. Why the balloon?
Because somebody asked me if I'd like to do it, and no one's ever done it before.
What's the matter with you? Why do you want to keep doing things that nobody's done before?
I remember thinking, you know, this just feels like a flight that's about to go to space.
When he wasn't flying hot air balloons and breaking records, he was preparing for battle.
You arrived in the studio, or to the studio this morning, driving a tank. You are going to go down 5th Avenue later, and then you're going to head into Times Square and break that tank through a wall of Coke and Pepsi to say you're going to liberate the Americans from these 2 soft drink giants.
And in case driving a tank through Times Square wasn't enough.
If you're a small company taking on a big company, you need to have a bit of sense of humor. There was one occasion where I got a call early one morning. British Airways had decided to sponsor the wheel, but they had a technical problem. They couldn't get the wheel out. So I had an airship company, and we scrambled the airship, and the airship headed towards London, flew over the wheel. I don't know whether
we've got a picture of this. Actually, this is.
Anyway, I think Virgin got more publicity than BA that day.
The thing that Richard gave the Virgin brand, which a lot of brands struggle to find, is a personality. Just like Steve Jobs gave Apple a personality.
The essence of Virgin was fun. It was the fact that we were doing these balloon trips, we were doing these boating trips, we were pulling British Airways' tail. You know, we were building a life brand and we were having a blast at the same time and having a lot of fun.
And I think the better known you are as an individual, the more you become the story. And, you know, not the brand or the company or the business you're trying to promote.
Step 4. Ditch the suit and tie. Anyone can sell.
Most of the bands who are signed to Virgin get signed to a very tough recording contract.
Well, he's a brilliant negotiator. Very, very good. And there's no doubt in my mind that when Richard would appear in meetings in woolly jumpers and stammer a lot, people were seduced into thinking that this was, you know, a bumbling good guy, when in fact Richard always had a very firm eye on the bottom line.
How did you first find this place?
I rang an estate agent and I bullshitted slightly. I said I wanted to buy an island in the Virgin Islands, and they did exactly what I hoped they'd do. They sent me 2 tickets, laid on a house, laid on a helicopter, and the second that we were above the island, looking down on it, I fell in love with it, and I fell in love with her, and I was very determined to get both. They wanted around $4 million for the island. The absolute most I thought I could get was about $80,000, and that's what I offered. And then about a year later, they let it be known to me that nobody else would come to see the island, and that if we upped our offer from $80,000 to $120,000, the island was ours.
And most importantly, step 5. Plan 10 steps ahead.
We may well start developing a program to try to take people from continent to continent. You know, maybe
one of the things about Richard Branson is he does have a tendency, when he's thinking about things in the future, to do what he describes as, I talk ahead of myself sometimes.
It could lead to the most incredible kinds of hotels in space. Could lead to small little spaceships going around the moon.
3, 2, 1. Fire. Fire.
I remember thinking, you know, this just feels like a flight that's about to go to space.
To all you kids down there, I was once a child with a dream, looking up to the stars. Now I'm an adult in a spaceship with lots of other wonderful adults looking down to our beautiful, beautiful Earth. To the next generation of dreamers, if we can do this, just imagine what you can do.